All right, guys. Today we are joined by Mr. Miami Mark, the mayor of Miami himself. He is coming with me here as a special guest. I just wanted to get a little bit of his insight, his feedback, his thoughts around his experiences so far within Drop Service Academy. He's been here for a few months now, so not quite as long as some people, but longer than some others. So, Mark, I just want you to first please introduce yourself. Give the viewers a little context for who you are, what your background is, where you're located, and we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, of course. Mark Cook, and thanks for the introduction, Parker. Really appreciate it. Mark Cook, I'm here in Miami. I run the Sparkle Squad, and my background is in tech recruiting. So spent the last 7 years doing tech recruiting. Started off at Google for a year and a half. Then I was at Meta for 3 years. And then here recently, Tesla for a year.
So you, when you originally started, and this is something unique about your story, something I love, is when you originally started, you were working in a full-time role. Now, Sparkle Squad and running your business has kind of become your main thing, your full-time role at this point. And I know that that transition didn't necessarily happen peacefully. It wasn't a slow, gradual way out, but happened nonetheless. And rather than you being in a situation like so many people would be, where they're in a job, they're used to a certain level of comfortability with it. Something changes, which for Tesla, a lot changed very quickly. And now they no longer have that role, and they would just be scrambling, trying to find something, trying to find a way to make up for that income that's not coming in, trying to find another job, maybe taking a lower paying job, or rushing into a role that isn't what their ideal situation is, because again, they're in need. Now you kind of got hit with this same news as other people, but took it a completely different way, and you were like, hey, this is an opportunity for me to double down on what I'm building individually and my business, and try to really put extra gas on that fire. I want to hear a little bit more about that transition and what made you feel confident in making that jump and saying, I'm just going to go all in on the business, and just walk me through a little bit more of that.
Yeah, for sure. So I was laid off from Tesla a couple months after I essentially laid the foundation for the Sparkle Squad. And so it came as a surprise, but it wasn't the first layoff that I had went through. I actually got laid off from Meta in November of 2022. So well before I was introduced to Drop Service Academy or just the drop service and model. So when I got laid off this time, there was a quick second where I thought, should I get another job? And probably for a day or two, I was on that train. I'll get another job, I'll continue the business. But I soon woke up after a couple of days of just being unemployed from Tesla and just running the company that this is what I need to focus on. What made me feel comfortable is essentially the pay, right? So I'm basically making 3 months into my company a little bit less than what I was making at Tesla. And every month we're getting bigger and revenue is getting better. The quality of the cleans are getting better. The customer service has always been there and I've always felt comfortable on the phone, but things are starting to round itself out right at the perfect time. So I felt comfortable not interviewing anywhere else and scrambling like all of my colleagues are in tech right now. All of my colleagues in big tech, they're looking for other interviews. And then when they jump on the phone with me, they're like, wow, I wish I would have started something like this, or I just wish I had a backup plan, something that was potentially on the back burner when we were focused on our full-time jobs. So for me, it was a smooth, seamless transition. I got the call that I was laid off. I sent my equipment back to Tesla, and that was about 3 weeks ago. I'm all smiles. Obviously, it's going to be an uphill battle continuing to grow the business and scale, right? But I feel completely comfortable not interviewing anywhere else.
And I guess, not to divulge too much and get into like profit and exact take home and all that, but what are the revenue numbers looking like that make you feel confident in that? What did April look like? What are we expecting for May? And how were you confident to be like, this is fine, this is all I'm going to need?
Yeah. So finished up all of the foundation, LLC, EIN, DBA at the end of January, launched our first month, which was only a couple cleans, which didn't go as successful as I thought. But then we relaunched in March, and then it immediately toppled our goal. So my personal goal for the first month was just a couple grand, just to get this thing going, see where I can take it. We did 7.5 the first month. Mind you, I had ads on 2 weeks out of the month. I had ads on 14 days out of the 31 of the month, and we made 7.5. The next month, I had ads on for about 2.5 to 3 weeks out of the month, which was last month, which was March. We did 10.5. Wait, seven, no, we did 12.5. So going into this month, we added 5K from March to April. I figured maybe we can add 6K this month. So we're projected to do about 18.5. And right now, midway through, we're at just under 9. So we might even have our first 20K month, which I'm super excited for. I want to hit that 20K month and then just continuing to maintain yet scale, obviously. I do have some people that I know where they might hit a 20K month and then they might have a 15K month the next month. What we want to do is continue to grow and not see a regress, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, and even just getting up to, I always say like a 95% retention, I think is a good goal, especially when you have these months of explosive growth. I mean, for example, right, I went from 17.7 to 35.2, right? It getting back to 35, if I got to 30 this month, that would not feel like a failure at all. Just because how huge that jump was, that's going to be, it's going to be hard to match that. Now, I think we're going to do 40 plus, just being honest, but that is one of the most beautiful things about the business model, in my opinion, is really the reality of the stacking of revenue, and the fact that that's how it goes. Like, that's how it
Mhm.
happens, is you just stack cleans, you stack cleans, you stack customers, you stack reviews, and things just grow like a weed, like absolutely insanely. So, I mean, I think that there's no substitute, in my opinion, for having the good customer service and like having all of that go how you want it to go. But the reality is that you're not going to be able to um, replicate a lot of the stuff that bigger businesses are doing or companies that are further along until you hit those points, right? For example, one of my biggest sources of bookings right now is actually organic. I get an organic booking every day. Every day I get someone that books. They don't even call, they don't text, they don't email, they just go on the website and book. But until you've built a foundation, you're never going to get organic bookings. No one goes to a company that's brand new with 2 reviews and just books without calling.
Right.
So it's like that, like, the rich get richer type of thing, where as you stack, it just becomes easier and easier. Your LSA rings more because you have more reviews. So people see your ad, but they actually pick you and call you. Same thing with Thumbtack, same thing with Yelp, same thing with organic leads. I mean, all of it is just compounding. People refer you when you have good service and you have a good track record. You get the organic, like, it's unbelievable. And I think so many people, they can get discouraged in the, like, let's call it the 2 to 6 or 8K range, because they don't have the momentum yet. They don't have the social proof. They're not getting the organic bookings. They're not really getting the referrals. And it's so easy to just get discouraged and be like, oh
Yeah.
shit, like, maybe this isn't for me. But then you can see, you can go from 17 to 35 in 1 month.
Yeah.
Like that is truly the nature of the business model, because of, one, the size of the industry and the pool that you're picking from, and then two, that recurring revenue model. So it's awesome. And obviously, I have been loving getting to watch you work and do what you've been doing in the space, because I think, you've had your you had your vision and your goal and your mindset around it very clear. And there's never really been any hesitation from you. It's just been like, this is what I want to do. I'm going to go after it. I'm going to attack it. And I'm interested to hear from your perspective, what has been, the two or three things that you do that you think has made you so successful that maybe other people wouldn't think of.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I didn't reinvent the wheel here, but I will say, grabbing some things from my corporate background, the 7 years that I've spent in corporate America and big tech doing recruiting, a lot of those skills are translatable and have helped me. The ability to be able to talk to people and relate to people from different backgrounds. My follow-up rate, right? No matter what the circumstance is, I'm following up with my customers, right? Or my potential leads. And so that's one of the most important things about my business in particular is just my consistency, as well as persistence with other leads that, are interested, but they just need some selling, right? But as far as things outside the box that have really helped my personal growth within the company and then the company overall, time blocking. So making sure that you're staying on your schedule, devoting specific amounts of time to each task that you have. Getting into this business model, you'll learn quickly you have to be organized. It's the most important thing. If you are getting 10 to 12 calls a day, some of those are bookings, some of those you have to follow up with, some of those have particular notes for the cleaners. You've got to make sure that you're time blocking accurately and that you're staying organized so you don't shoot yourself in the foot, right? This is a business model where you have to give refunds if you mess up sometimes, right? And so staying organized, you won't let things slip through the cracks. You'll avoid any chargebacks or refunds and things like that. And then making sure you're time blocking, staying on top of your day. And those are really the things that have led to just my success. I mean, we're over 20K in total revenue in just over 2 months, right? And we've had the ads on for about 5 weeks out of that total, 5 to 6 weeks, somewhere around there. So yeah, just staying persistent and organized for me personally. The calls come in. I'm in Miami, right? So there's going to be people that are looking to spend money on cleans. So being available, that's another thing as I close out just my little soliloquy here is being available, right? Answering the phone. A lot of it, half the job is answering the phone, right? And being able to sell these people or talk to these people while you're on the phone. But those are just a couple tidbits that have worked out for me.
So I think immediately a couple things jump out to me. First thing is, and this will give me a great couple different opportunities here to address a few of the common concerns people have. First one is going to be competition. Oh, I think this is oversaturated. There's too much competition, right? Now, this it's funny to me having you come in and actually have the same service area as the two founders and creators of the program that you
Yeah.
joined, right? Same service area.
Yeah.
And you are going to side by side do over 15K this month while they are doing that. I mean, do you feel like John and Mark are breathing down your neck with their cleaning businesses, or is it like they don't even exist because there's just so much cleaning that needs to be done?
There's so much opportunity around here. When I initially got into Drop Service Academy and learned that not only Mark, but John, they were both here with cleaning companies and they're behemoths in the game, right? And I was coming into this and I was a little nervous. I haven't felt their presence not one bit, literally. There's so much opportunity out here. There's so many different categories of business that I can target. There's so many different verticals from residential to commercial, construction, pre and post. Then you have government cleanings. And then within commercial, you've got like 50 different types of commercial projects or jobs or companies or just, subjects that you can look into, whether it's auto shops or salons or gyms, Pilates studios, dentists, restaurants, bars, apartment complexes. So no, I haven't felt their presence at all. And they live 2, 3 miles away, right? We have the same service area.
It's something that people you'd be amazed how frequently people say this. They're like, well, there's so many cleaning businesses. Like, there's There's way too much competition. And I just can never stress enough to people that as for however many cleaning businesses that there are 1,000 places that need to be cleaned for each business. I mean, the idea of the existing companies in your area having so much of the market share that you can't get off the ground, it's
Possible.
laughable. It's so far from the truth. I mean, yeah, and I think you're a perfect example of it, right? You come in, you go to a city that is huge and has a ton of cleaning companies, but actually not that many people, right? You're not in LA or New York City with millions and millions of people. Like, Miami's not that huge of a city. And there's a lot of competition, right? And there's a lot of like mom and pop cleaning companies, there's a lot of,
There's a
yep,
lot. There's a ton.
a
But the
ton.
difference about these companies is that, they don't have the luxury of actual advertisements. They're not on Thumbtack, they're not on LSA like we are, right? And so we're able to garner way more of the market share. Their one or two posts a week on a next door Facebook, I don't think it's enough to sustain scalability, in my opinion. And so that gives me a leg up as well, just to throw that out there.
And I think that is something that people they take for granted when it comes to this. And I also have found that when I do my hiring, is that sometimes as I'm bringing on contractors that have their own book of business, they take for granted how difficult it is to maintain deal flow. And
Totally.
they think like the hard part is the cleaning. The cleaning is, yes, it's difficult. Like, yes, it takes labor. You've done cleans, I've done cleans. Yeah, but the reality is the cleaning isn't what makes the business run. What makes the business run is everything that's done behind the computer and on the phone. And that is what will separate you inevitably from the big companies that are way debased from their customers, way out of touch. They don't give a shit about the customer. It's just a number. You say the square footage, we spit out a price, we send a team there, they're out of the place in 25 minutes, it's over, right? And then also separates you from the mom and pop tiny little shop where they can't pay for advertising. They're always doing the cleaning, so they don't even answer the phone when it rings.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, there is a sweet spot that we get to ride right in the middle of like being an owner, having a business, not being too busy to answer the phone, but not being too busy to care about the customer on either end, and then also not end up in this place where you're super high cost, all W-2 employees, you're providing all the equipment, low margins, super high cost, or the opposite of we can't spend any money, no cost, because we can't afford the ads, we can't, you can really thread the needle there so excellently. So I think that's it's a superpower that we have with this business model. And people oftentimes just are so short-sighted with it. Like they just see what's right in front of them and they're like, nope, there's way too many cleaning companies. How can I compete with these prices? How can you don't have to. You're not competing with every person that cleans houses in Miami. That's not how that works. They're not a database where everyone puts their price and you got no,
Right.
I mean, there's so much more that goes into it.
Yeah, so much more. And so especially with DSA offering the tools that it does, I mean, it's helped out tremendously. And I forget a lot of the time that we're in our third month. We're still in our first quarter, and the revenue numbers they're passing my personal goals that I have for the company. So I can't really ask for more. And then a lot of these people that are calling around, they're calling multiple cleaning companies. So you're going to get your opportunity on the phone because they're going to call a couple people for quotes, right? And that's where that follow up comes into play. When you're on the phone with them, figure out when does this decision need to be made for this cleaning? Okay, cool. Saturday. Today's Thursday. I'm going to call you tomorrow and Saturday to see if I can follow up with you to make sure we can lock you in by your deadline, right? And then making sure your customer service is on point, right? And maintaining the culture of the company. These are things that are going to set you aside when you're on the phone and when there is a lot of competition.
And the other thing is that in this business model, the a lot of people do view cleaning as a commodity, right? They're like, clean is clean. If I can get a clean for 50 bucks or a clean for 100 bucks, it's going to be exactly the same. One's just half the price. And that's not true. But what people never view as a commodity is the customer experience. And if you answer the phone pleasantly and you're eloquent and you're friendly and you are attentive and you do your follow up, I mean, there is so much opportunity to be had there that you just would miss out on completely if you went the route of the, the corporate style. So I love this business model. I think it lends well to people like us who have interpersonal skills and who love people and love the game, if to put it simply. And I oftentimes forget that my business is less than 6 months old. I mean,
Yeah,
I am a week away from being 6 months old with my business. And I am truly like sitting here like, why am I not at 50K a month yet? Like,
yeah. I mean, you're doing a great job. I mean, cumulatively, you're either close to 100K already in total revenue or over that in 6 months. I
yeah,
mean, what more can you ask? You're on the way to seeing exactly what you want in that revenue slot.
yeah, no, and that's exactly right. We are at just over 100,000 in revenue. And probably by the time we get there with what's already on the books and some extra stuff, I think we should finish, our first 6 months like 110, 115,
Wow.
um, in 6 months, which is insane,
In six
and
months.
and that's the first 6 months, right? The next 6 months should be double
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And that's what I told. I went on the Booking Koala podcast and I told those guys, I said, 2024, my business is going to generate at least 300K in revenue.
Mhm.
And we're on track, man. We're on track in the 4.5 months of 2024 so far. We have done like 90K. We're
Yeah.
right there.
And you're more and more people are gonna be hearing about our businesses as these days goes on. We're gonna be focused on brand awareness more and more as the days goes on, right? Our social media impact and social proof continues to increase. And all of this just leads to more instant bookings, which fluctuates your margins in the right direction, as opposed to having to pay for all of your ads. Like sometimes you do have to in the beginning. I mean, it's one of those business models where you get a raise every month for the first 6 or 7 months. And
Yeah.
you can really take that farther, it's just as much work you put in, you get out.
Yes, it is. And there's always going to be uncontrollable things, right? There's going to be stuff you can't foresee. I mean, I do want to touch
Oh, yeah.
on your situation, and then everything that happened with you early on with your Stripe debacle. And, because that people need to, be aware. The thing is, like, businesses, it's not linear. It's not cookie cutter. It is ups and downs, it's ebbs and flows. It's different for you than it is for me, than it is for the next person, than it is for the person watching this right now. Um, and the way that this happened to you, and you just like took it on the chin and just went, all right, guess I'm gonna have to work, 50% harder for the next month to get back to where I was. I mean, I want to give us a brief overview kind of what happened and what you did about it. And, then I have a couple more questions to sneak into you in the next 9 minutes here. But yeah, I
Yeah.
want to start with talking about that.
So first month of getting the company up to date and foundation built, EIN LLC was great. February comes, we're ready to launch, ready to get our ads out there. We get a couple bookings. After our third booking, our very first customer, we got three bookings. Our very first customer ended up complaining by the time we got our third booking. She said the clean wasn't good enough. I said, no worries, I'll refund you. This was about 7 p.m. Said, no worries, I'll refund you in the morning. Before I woke up, my Stripe account had been shut down. Now, again, this is our first month in business. I didn't know what this would entail. Long story short, it shut us down for the whole month. We were out of the game for the whole month. That one instance shut us down for a month, right? And then that's when we came out of the gates and did 7,500 with our ads on only on for a couple months in March. But it was just what you called it, a complete debacle. I told the lady that we were going to get her taken care of. She still complained, but my company was so new, we hadn't even done 700 in business. I won the dispute of the fraud dispute, but the company was so new, Stripe still deemed our account as essentially we had to fix things, right? So that was long story short. But it was a huge punch in the gut after doing all of this to get the business set up, not knowing how long we would be out of business. It was a huge mountain to climb. So many things that we learned from it and brought into the last couple of months where we haven't had any problems, right? As far as the quality, everything's been locked down. So super scary in the beginning, but that's what perseverance is all about. As a business owner, there's going to be fires, hailstorms that you have to put out. Okay. And that's what you sign up for as a business owner. But seeing the revenue at the end of the month and seeing what you're starting that next month at without even having a day into the month, that's what makes it worth it for me.
Absolutely. There's no better feeling than like you see. I mean, a perfect example of this for me was 2 weeks ago. I really felt like we kind of were having a slow week. The phone wasn't ringing a lot. I had two cancellations. I was just like kind of down on myself, like, feeling shitty about myself. And I ended up looking over the books and looking over the numbers, and I was like, wait, we did 9K this week. And like it felt like a slow, like bad failure of a week. And
Yeah.
like that is just now where like the bar has been set. And that's the beautiful thing about being your own boss and running your own show and calling your own shots is like you decide what the standard is.
Yeah.
Sure, that first month the standard is 3K. Okay. Now you move we talked about this the last time. Don't worry about the ceiling, worry about the floor, right? You set the floor higher every month. This month we got more recurring customers, we got more one times, we're going to get more referrals, we got more reviews. Okay, now the floor is 10K. Now next month the floor is 15K. Now the month
Mhm.
after that the floor is 20. And you just keep pushing that floor until all of a sudden the 10K week feels slow,
Yeah.
and then the 20K week feels slow. I mean, there's people that I'm friends with or mutuals with on Twitter, a guy PJ McGeary, who's been dominating in the space for a long time, and he does about about 90, 85, 90K a month,
Yeah.
and
That's recurring revenue right there. He's
he
built
doesn't
a
run
that's
ads.
called building a book of business.
Yep, and he doesn't even run ads. He doesn't have a marketing expenses. He
We
85% of his bookings are like are he doesn't even have to convince these people. They're already sold when they get on the phone.
yeah.
It's crazy. And we will be there. We'll get to that point. He's a whole year ahead of me. So,
Hmm.
he's been about 18 months of doing this and growing consistently. So, I mean, the systems are there. Everything is built to scale. If you do it properly and you're organized, like you said, there's no limit to the heights and what we can achieve with this business model. So with our last couple minutes that we've got here, Mark, I want you to give me three things. Okay. The first thing is going to be something that you expected to be very difficult that has not been very difficult, something that you expected to be very easy that has been difficult, and something that if someone else wanted to get started, you are like, you should know this before you start, or you should make sure that you have this quality in yourself before you start, something like that. So those are the three things. You can go in any order you'd like.
Something that was easy, or something that I thought was going to be easy, but was difficult. I come from a recruiting background from the most powerful companies in the world, Meta, Tesla, Google, and spent 7 years there recruiting, doing interviews for some of the highest positions in the company. And so once I started the company and had to do recruiting and interviewing, it was a lot for me to handle because you had to change up how you talk to people, right? I was recruiting engineers and, now I'm doing bilingual maids here in Miami. So it was a little bit of a learning curve. Obviously, I adjusted pretty quickly and it worked out well. And we still are hiring for anyone that needs a beautiful job with us. Number two, what was difficult that I thought would be easy? Um,
No, the opposite, because you just did
okay,
that one. So what was easy that you thought would be difficult?
getting calls. I mean, when you don't have a business and you're saying, okay, I'm going to start a business, how am I going to get calls? How are people going to hear about me? I mean, I field 60 calls a week. I mean,
There you
there's so
go.
many calls coming in. There's so many calls coming in. And again, this is with Mark and John right down the street, right? Now, if you want to get into this business model, you need to know a couple of things. Here's a quick cheat sheet. Quick cheat sheet. Again, number one, being organized and being able to talk to people. If you can't do that, there's going to be a huge learning curve. You're talking to people on the phone all day. People buy from who they like. This is how the game goes, right? So make sure you're personable and you're able to talk to people and relate and can sell a little bit. Make sure you're organized and make sure you have perseverance and grit. Running a company is not a walk on the beach. You've got to maintain company culture, right? You have to manage your employees and subcontractors. You have to get clients, right? Commercial clients, client acquisition. These are three main pillars of drop servicing. Other than that, you've got to make sure nothing's falling through the cracks. If you're making mistakes and you told your cleaner it's a 4 p.m. clean and your cleaner, and it was really supposed to be a 2 p.m. clean, and that customer's mad at you, who are you going to blame? You, right? You're the only person to blame. So things like that lead to you losing money. Hey man, I'm sorry about that. We'll give you a 10% refund or 10% off on this clean. So it's keeping your head in the game, staying focused. I like to write things out as well as type them out. So when I'm on the phone, I'm writing down all of the information that I'm getting from these people, as well as typing it into my CRM. That's just me, right? But those are a couple of things that I think will allow you to be successful in drop servicing.
I love it. So I would agree with all of them. I think the interpersonal is big. I think organization is big, and the something that I always say is you really just have to have some extreme sense of ownership if you want to make it as a business owner. Not necessarily in this business model, just in business in general. And like I said, you have to have extreme ownership. This is my business. What happens here is my fault. It's my success to celebrate. It's my problems to deal with. There's no one to delegate to. When shit hits the fan, it's my fan and I deal with it. So yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And for anyone watching this video who wants to connect with Mark, Mark has been making some content. I will put the links for his social media accounts in the description of this video here. For anyone else, if you have any questions for myself or for Mark, as always, just drop them in the comment section and we will be kind of monitoring them and replying to them as they come in. Mark, I appreciate your time today, man. Appreciate your expertise and sharing your experience here with Drop Service Academy and with the drop servicing business model in general. It's been awesome to grow alongside of you as a student and as a coach. And I'm excited to see what the next 3 months have in store for you after seeing how fruitful these first three have been.
Thank you, Parker. Looking forward to the future, making a ton of money together, man. Thank you so much.
Amen. All right, guys, everyone, take care. We'll see you in the next video.